talk about a couple things right now. One thing I want to mention is about the age that we're entering into. We're in a transition from like one era of activity, of human activity. We're transitioning right now into another era, a different era of human activity. So one example, one of the eras of human activity is that we're in right now is the era of the Pisces. And so that's been a very religious kind of an era, you know, a lot of spirituality. Pisces constellation, I don't know, it gives a lot of certain kind of activity to the human race, you know. Pisces means Jesus in Greek, I believe. So the Pisces language or way of culture and Christianity and this religious thing, you know, this religious trip, monotheistic religious trip that the humans have been on since 1 AD is kind of coming to an end at this point in this phase in time, because the constellation, the Earth is moving into a period of time where the spring equinox, angle of the spring equinox is going to move its alignment away from the Pisces constellation into a new constellation called Aquarius. So we're moving into the era of Aquarius, the water bearer, right? And that age is the age of technology. So we're going to have this really high level of technology that's going to start pretty, you know, it's already starting basically. And technology, you know, it's a means to an end, but it has no meaning in itself. So what I'm saying is that I believe that as the human race begins to progress from this point forward, it's going to lose meaning. More and more we're going to lose meaning, but we're going to gain in technology. So the idea of the human race, why people are doing what they're doing, like all that idea that's existed in the era of Pisces, that way of thinking is going away. It's just people are going to do things because that's what they're doing. I mean, it's no meaning. And I was thinking about, you know, how the internet and social media and everything is speeding up that process, because I've developed this this theory about entropy increasing in a system that has a lot of communication in it. So the idea that, you know, like person A communicates something to person B, but person B, they're gonna only hear, understand like some percentage of what person A says. So the message gets scrambled. And so that information exchange between two brains scrambles information, and that means it's increasing entropy by making a more chaotic situation. And so if you increase this situation where there's a lot of communication going on, then in that system entropy is increasing, you know, just as much as the communication is increasing. So the higher amount of communication means the more entropy is going to be created. Alright? So now you have social media where you have an extremely high frequency of information being traded between people. You know, there's like people leave a blog post and then hundreds of people are going to read that. So there's like this communication, exponential communication, technology communication that's existed for the last 10 years or so. It's just exponentially growing, social media and the internet. And so, we're getting into the point where the entropy is becoming extreme. There's so much entropy being created in the mind, in the society, that people are entering this whole new phase of existence. And it's happening right now. I mean, if you try to communicate with some old person right now, in most of the world, they're not going to understand what the fuck you're talking about. I mean, think about it. If you have somebody who's 80 years old who you can talk to, and you start talking about blogs and the communication and all, they're just going to be like, whoa, okay, what? I have no idea what the fuck you're talking about. Totally new era. Lighters are running out of gas up in here. Damn. They changed the emperor here in this country, and the name of the era changed from Heisei Jidai to Reiwa. So it's called Reiwa. It's the new Japanese emperor's name, and that's how Japanese people measure the years. So they've been measuring years from like the emperor's, when the emperor becomes the emperor, then that's the year number 1. So I was born in Showa 56. So that was the 56th year of the Showa Emperor, and that was the year I was born. So my birthday is going to say Showa 56, August 11. That's how it's done here in this country. But then when the Showa Emperor died, then there's a new emperor that came, his son, and they called him Heisei. Now he's old as shit, this Heisei Emperor. He's like forgetting things. He's just way too old. And here the emperors have to go around, make all these speeches. Very busy job. So the emperor abdicated. It's the first time that's ever happened in Japan. So this year, an emperor abdicated here in this country. And people don't even really know what to think about it. I mean, it's just like, usually everyone's going to be real sad. It's going to be a mourning time because the emperor dies, and then his son becomes the new emperor. But this time, he's healthy, and so nobody really gives a shit. But anyways, I was thinking about how, like, the West has this time where, like, I was born in the year 1981. So, what does that mean? In Japan, I was born in the year 56 of Showa Emperor. But in the West, it's like, I was born in 1981. So, where does that come from? Oh, everybody says, like, yeah, that comes from Jesus, the birth of Christ after the birth. And so that was 1 AD, and Then that started the era of the Pisces. So that's how the whole West has been, like our numeric system for counting the years. The whole time it's just been using stars. It's not about some religion. Like Jesus was born, that's when Jesus died on the same day, like whatever. So it's all about the fucking stars. Like people have been mapping out the stars and using the fucking stars as a big ass clock in the sky so they can count years. And this shit's been going on for thousands of years. Like 5,000 years ago is when it started, and it was the era of the Leo. And that was the period of like making fire and shit. But those motherfuckers figured it out how to do it. It's unbelievable. $5,000 years ago. It was the era of the Leo. The Leo is like associated with fire, and then like the earth was getting warmer during that period. And all the glaciers were melting away, because before that, it was just packed out ice glaciers everywhere. Ice age was ending, and that's when the period of Leo started, when the ice age was officially ending. And then the human culture could grow into another phase, or the beginning phase of existence in society. So, anyways, just a few ideas. I've been like reading a little bit about Buddhism recently. I had no idea there's so many sects. There's like hundreds of different Buddhist sects. There's like, in Japan alone, there's so many, like 20 different, separate, religious styles that they do over here. It's pretty wild, But in India and China, there's so many different types of Buddhism, and just reading about all that shit is fucking crazy. Man, Jesus. There's these people, they worship the Tengu. And they got this, like, there's this god here in Japan, it's called the Tengu god. And it comes from the Amanita muscaria mushroom. It grows all over the northern Alps of Japan. And Nagano and shit. They got all those Amanita muscaria. So they made this Tengu god, and the Tengu's got this big ass nose. He's totally red. He's like a bird. He can fly. He's got drums. He carries drums with him. And, he's going to start drumming every time to help people out if there's some monsters. So he's a good god, this Tengu. And there's these people in this country that worship that god, and they're called Yamabushi. And the Yamabushi people, it's like this, from this old ass sect of Buddhism that came here thousands of years ago. And Yamabushi means like mountain hermit. Like they just go into the mountains here. They live in the mountains. And this fucking place is not easy to live in. Food is a bitch in this country. It's very difficult to grow. I've been farming in this country for 6 years now, and it's not easy, let me tell you. It's very difficult. A lot of elements. you gotta take care of. But, anyway, these people are living out there in the mountain, Yamabushi. They're worshiping the Tengu. I mean, they're probably tripping on this mushroom all the time. I mean, who knows? I mean, that's gotta be one badass life. That's awesome, I think. I mean, they're just sitting there meditating for hours and hours and hours, just looking at the whole mountain, bomb-ass forest scenery, just meditating in there. And they train, they're healthy as shit. Like, they're like Bruce Lee type people. It's like non-stop training, Tai Chi, all this mountain training, walking for hours and hours and through the mountain, climbing up mountains and shit. I mean, these motherfuckers are fit. It's like Shaolin style. Like back in the day, when there's a war, the samurai would recruit these Yamabushi people to fight with them, I mean, they were awesome fighters. Study Aikido. Bojutsu. Bojutsu is an awesome art. I would definitely recommend anybody out there to pick up and try to learn how to use a stick. I took some classes here, so I know, like, there's a bow form and then there's a kin form. So yeah, I mean, it's awesome to practice with the stick and doing the exercises with your hands to hold a stick is like a really excellent practice for your whole body, like stretching. Just like really stretching out your body by having an imaginary stick you're going to use to like defend yourself and attack. So it's a good practice. I would recommend doing it. Bojutsu. Good stuff.